Are they still building new homes? And if not, why? Let's look into it. Hi, quickly before we start, my name is Jeremy Tremblay. I'm a local realtor that works here in Belleville, Quinte West, and surrounding areas. If you have any questions after this video, feel free to reach out. If you don't know about this area, want to learn more, check out my channel. I've got many other videos. Be sure to hit that subscribe and hit that little thumbs up. Let's get to it. So if you've been watching the housing market at all over the last number of years, you've noticed a sharp downtrend in new build homes. You look earlier in 2021, 22, 23, things were moving. New build construction was happening everywhere. And of course, with the supply chain issues, it was a big deal in terms of getting homes built, getting the parts, but they couldn't get them built quick enough because people were buying them. Well, that has slowed considerably to the point now that people are driving by some of these construction sites and seeing not much happening. And so the question is, are we going to see more happening here in 2025? One thing to note as we look at this, there's the resale market, new construction market. They are very much different, but they are very much related. And we'll talk a little bit more about how those are going to be affecting each other. So first off, cost to build. So this is one of the big factors that has really created a difference between a resale home and a new build home. If you look in a neighborhood right now in the Belleville, Quinte West area, and you look at a home that was built 4 or 5 years ago, a nice home, still considered quite new, versus that same builder building a home down the street today. Because of the cost of materials have gone up, the new construction home of the same style will be more expensive. And so they're actually competing with the people that are reselling the homes that were purchased 4 or 5 years ago. So automatically, that puts a damper on new construction because how are they going to compete with those prices? The other thing to account for is the cost of a lot. So just a building lot. People are often surprised how much it costs just for the piece of land to build a house. And that's something that has gone up. Just as a quick education, if you're not sure how it works, generally you have a bush and you want to get houses in there. Normally what happens is a developer comes in and they take the risk of tearing everything down, all the forest, putting roads in, sewers, water, everything on there. And then they sell the lots to builders. And the builders buy those lots and then they get a house plan and they try and sell it to you, the end user. Well, the cost of a lot has gone up substantially over the number of years. So in the past where you could buy a lot for say $100,000, now that same lot might cost you $200,000. Some lots are going up to $300,000, some even more depending on where you're located and what type of neighborhood. And so right away, the cost of a new build home, take that $200,000 lot, starts there, and then you actually have to put a house on it. So the overall cost has gone up. The next thing is materials. This is no surprise. Most people know that cost of materials went up drastically the last number of years because of the supply chain shortages. People heard a lot about the lumber prices that just went sky high. And so the cost to build a home, we build our homes all out of wood, went way up. Now that portion did come back down. And it did even out, but everything else just continued to go up. So the cost of concrete, you're pouring an entire foundation, that went up. The cost of shingles upstairs, the cost of insulation, the cost of windows, everything to build a house, the electrical supplies, it all went up. So overall, if each one of these categories go up, the cost of an entire home for a new construction went up. So now you've got a more expensive lot, you've got more expensive building costs, and that really hasn't eased off. The one thing that we are starting to see ease off here, and we'll see if this continues in 2025, is the cost of labor. So of course, when things were going crazy, they were building houses and they couldn't build them fast enough. Getting workers in there was the problem. And you heard about this. We need more workers. We need more skilled trades. Well, the new builds have kind of dropped off now substantially. And while some of the workers are still there, they're still trying to keep them going. There are a lot that there's not as much work. So instead of new builds, you got a lot of workers that are trying to go back, work on homes to do your home renovations. And so when there's not as much work, generally you start to see the labor prices come down a little bit. Not as much as you would think, unfortunately, but they're at least not going up still. So that's evened off. That'll be one thing that we'll have to track this year in 2025 to see if maybe that potentially affects the overall cost of homes. And the second factor, and this is a big one, which I think really adds insult to injury of overall with the prices, are taxes, development fees. And so as most people know with taxes, it is a percentage thing. So overall, as the cost of homes have been going up, the taxes have been going up with that. And so you look at 13% on a new build construction home. Well, when that new build home costs $400,000 or maybe $500,000, 13% of that. Well, that same home now is going for $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. They're still charging the same 13%. You would have seen with the government put out that they were going to be removing some of those taxes and GST specifically on new build purpose-built rentals because they recognize that builders aren't willing to take the risk and all the costs involved and pay all those taxes. So they did that. But on new build construction for residential homes, they haven't removed that. And so that's a huge portion of it. And then also development fees. What many people don't realize is that every municipality, including here in Belleville and Quinte West, there is a development charge that they've been looking at and changing and raising overall. Belleville raised theirs back a number of years ago, and then Quinte West recently raised theirs substantially, over 150%. So on a new build construction home, it was $15,000 to new development charge. And then overnight, they did a study and they said, you know what? We need to build the sewers and the water systems to allow for a larger city. We need to raise those costs. So it goes from $15,000 up to $37,000 overnight. Now, of course, when you have a builder, they've paid for the lot, they've paid for the higher construction costs, and now they've got the taxes and the higher development fees. Of course, that is going to be built into the price of a home. It's just naturally the way it works. And so as the municipalities, the province, federal government, there are so many taxes built in and development fees built into these new homes. And as the homes kept getting more expensive, those kept swelling. So overall, unfortunately, the overall cost to build a home just continued to go up. And so until they decide to lower those costs, which we've seen recently over in Vaughan that they decided to lower the development costs. They're the first place to be doing that in this kind of Ontario area. And we'll see the effects. Will there be more building in that area? And if that's the case, it will have other municipalities taking note. Do they need to make a change? Because in my opinion, if they don't, unfortunately, I don't see building picking up too much because the cost for all those development charges will just remain extremely high. So to sum it up, is new construction dead? No. In my opinion, you're still going to see building happening because people still want to get into homes that are brand new, that no one's ever lived in, that they have choice on the finishes, on the colors, and just be in that brand new neighborhood. But it is going to cost you more than a similar resale home. So if you are in the market to get into a new home, that's where you're really going to want to make sure to do your research. Reach out, ask me some questions as I mentioned. I know the Belleville, Quinte West, Prince Edward County areas, the different builders that are available here, and they are more flexible at this point. They're willing to work with you. Their prices, there's going to be a little bit of play there as to what they're willing to do on overall pricing because they recognize the demand has dropped quite a bit. And so, as I mentioned, look into my other videos. I've talked about some of the other areas, and if you have any questions after this, feel free to reach out. My information down below, my number, my email. I'd love to hear from you. And also be sure, hit the subscribe, hit the little thumbs up if you've gotten any value from this. Till next time.